Here.
Now, last time you were here, we were saying that talking about what you do, for, recreation time. You say you hardly take any breaks. You smoke a cigar, drink a glass of wine. Now, I found out from a good source that you went to a Bradley Gilbert concert.
I did. Um, a couple of weeks ago, we went up to Atlanta to the headliner was Kenny Chesney, then Eric Church, and then Brantley,
Okay.
and they played for a good 4.5 hours in Atlanta, and it was something.
Okay. So you got some relaxation. I mean, all
You
work and
know,
no play.
I don't know with the Atlanta football stadium filled up, the pro stadium filled up. I don't know if you call that relaxation or not. I've been around that many people. It's a little nerve wracking.
Well, you've been on the defense side for a long time, so you might have some clients.
Could have had some, although I try to stay out of the Atlanta market.
Okay.
I just stay down here in the country.
Now, we're showing something here on the table. What is this?
That is the Walton law firm just received a national award from it's called the 2014 Litigator Awards. Uh, we got that in several different categories: wrongful death, tractor trailer accidents, spinal injury accidents, brain injury, and personal injury. And the neat thing about that award is that there was about 1.1 million lawyers nationwide looked at, and a handful in each state. And we were fortunate to get one of the awards for the state of Alabama.
Okay,
So
now
that's pretty cool.
you've been receiving a few awards now. You in the what top 1%? Is that
Yeah, that was another award, top 1%, sort of like this, 1%. Then the Alabama, what is it? Super lawyers. That's the top 5%.
okay?
So they're nice. The award and a $2.25 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. That's about all it'll do.
Well, I mean, if a person's looking for a lawyer,
Yeah,
and I just came out of law school with my great looks and everything, and you're in the top 1%,
it's good.
they make they
Yeah,
they
yeah,
may call you,
yeah.
considering.
The one thing that too it means it tells me is that I've gotten older. It's funny. Young lawyers come in to interview or come up to me and want to talk about practicing law and how you do it and how you get started. And when I tell them my daily schedule now, which is TV shows, radio shows, um, doing what I do, because I have an excellent staff and staff of lawyers that do most of the hands-on work. I review everything with the lawyers as we go through it. But they look at me now and think I've always done it this way, which for 25 of my 30 years, I probably worked 24/7 all weekends. Didn't marry until I was 50, so I could work.
Yeah.
My father told me growing up, you can be an excellent father, you can be an excellent lawyer, take your pick, but you can't be both at the same time.
Wow.
Something's going to have to suffer. And that may not be true with a lot of lawyers. They may can hit every ball game and have a great law practice too. But with me, with my limited intelligence, I knew I would have to do one or the other. So I chose to just do the law practice until I became 50, and then I got a ready-made family when I married a young lady who had 3 children. So that's really been a blast.
The Walton bunch.
The
Okay.
Walton bunch, it's like Walton's Mountain. But I mean, it's been fun. It's had its ups and downs. Let me put
Yeah.
it that way.
Well, I mean, marriage is a noble institution,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and if you're not careful, you'll be in an institution.
That's right. Exactly.
And now you got me in trouble. Uh,
Yeah.
well, okay, now you've been busy, obviously,
Yeah.
with all the awards and stuff, but you were also just uh, doing something else with some lawyers. What was that about?
Yeah. Last week we went down to Sandestin to the Alabama Association for Justice convention seminar, and I was one of the speakers. They called it All-Star Speakers or whatever. Here's a picture, and they gave me one of those Hawaiian leis as I walked in to go speak. I thought everybody got one, but apparently I was the only one that got one. But anyway, that's a picture of me from the back of the room, taken with a cell phone. Not a real good close-up, but thank goodness it's not. We had about 300, 400 people there in the room, from Supreme Court judges down to staff, and my topic was mediation. And I did a TV show recently in LaGrange on mediation. It was fun because most people don't understand what mediation is versus arbitration, don't know how it plays in with what we do. And most of our cases these days are resolved by mediation. Now, arbitration is totally different. Now, let me explain the difference.
Okay.
Arbitration is when you sign a bank agreement, you buy a car. With big industry, they have an arbitration clause in there where you can't sue them. If you have a problem, you go before an arbitrator or a panel of arbitrators, and they hear the case, sort of like a trial.
Right.
And then they make a decision, and that's not appealable most of the time, unless there's some sort of hanky-panky going on between one of the parties and the arbitrator. They make a decision as final. Mediation is not that. Mediation is an agreed-upon date and an agreed-upon mediator where you get together with all the parties involved in the lawsuit, and the mediator goes back and forth and tries to work out a settlement. And that can take 3 hours, or it could take 3 days, or you can go to 2 in the morning. But it's a neat way to get your civil cases resolved. It is probably by now, the last 5 to 10 years, the #1 way to get civil cases. There's no appeal. You settle it, you get your money pretty quickly, usually within 14 days to 30 days. Nothing you say in there is all confidential. If it breaks down, at the end of the day, if we're at $1 million and they're at 150 and it's just not going to settle, everybody goes home. The mediator cannot be subpoenaed to court to testify to what anybody said during the mediation. So it's a really good, neat thing. And 30 years ago when I was in law school, it was unheard of. In fact, they had a class on it. Nobody even signed up for it. We didn't know what mediation was because back then the big verdicts was what we wanted.
Right.
And after about 15 years of practicing law, we still thought that mediation was merely a tool for the defense attorneys to find out more about our cases and or in a big case to avoid a big jury verdict by getting it settled quickly. After that, the judiciary in Alabama sort of changed. It sort of aligned itself with big business, which is not who we represent. We represent the little folks who are injured and killed and taken advantage of.
Right.
So we're typically suing the bigger businesses. Not all the time. I mean, car wreck is a car wreck. Blow Joe over here and Joe blow over here. They hit each other. But anyway, most of the time today, because of the court system, the backlog, the appealable the problems with an appeal. For instance, if you get on a court docket, Tallapoosa, Chambers, Macon County, you file a lawsuit, you may be anywhere from 2.5 to 4 years getting to trial.
Goodness.
And let's say you go to trial and you hit a big one. They're going to appeal it. The appeal could take 18 months to 24 months. Well, now, your event occurred back here in 2004, and it's 2015, you're just getting your appeal back. Not really a great system.
Right.
It's bogged down. It's got all kind of problems. So mediation really is the cheapest, quickest, most efficient way to take care of your clients' cases. And you have to start teaching your clients about it from day one, because if they want to have their day in court, they need to find out that really their day is going to be a mediation, and they can talk to the mediator. And the good thing about mediation really is too, the mediator can sit in there with your clients and hear all sort of stuff that would be totally inadmissible in trial, but it lets them get it out on the table. They can say what they want to say about this, that, and the other. The mediator doesn't even say, when he goes back to the other room, he's in our room for an hour, he didn't go back in there and say, they said A, B, C, D. He goes back in there and said, okay, they made a move. They moved $50,000. Y'all need to get up some money. Come on, give me some money to take back in there. So they go back and forth between the parties.
Right.
But it's really neat, really good stuff. And most people don't hear of it because you don't see it on TV. On TV, you see a trial last 15 minutes on a TV. 14 weeks of TV, they jam, 14 weeks of trial, they jam in 15 minutes. And it looks like everybody's just having dinner or smoking cigars and everything's cool, but that's not the way it is.
Let's go to break, and then afterwards, let's talk about some notable cases maybe that were solved through mediation, if we can do
We can
that.
do it. Sure
All right.
can.
We'll be back after these commercial messages. 213,000 there in Auburn, Alabama. Auburn and Montgomery, actually, but you can get them in Auburn, and they'll definitely get 2-trip with what you need. Now, we're talking about arbitration and mediation, and I was amazed because I've been in court once or twice, and I'm in court a lot of times through objections and things that are considered not need to be heard by the court. A lot of stuff don't get heard.
Right.
And you're saying in mediation, that's not necessarily the case.
No, a lot of times your client will want us to tell the mediator something that's totally immaterial and irrelevant, But you let them do it, and the mediator does it because he knows they've got to get it out to get to move forward on the settlement of the case. They feel vindicated when they get to say, well, that so-and-so did so-and-so. And the mediator says, well, that's good input. Now let's talk about getting another move. Let's move another step closer to get this case settled, you know. And it's really does a good job. And you know, in the last couple of years, we mediated a brain injury case to settle for $8 million, which means my client doesn't have to go through appeals for years. The money gets there, we invest it, and all that took place in Opelika in one day. We started at about 9 o'clock in the morning. We did a big PowerPoint presentation about, we showed the injuries, we showed why the company driver was at fault, we showed why he shouldn't have been using his laptop as he was driving down the road at 7 o'clock in the morning. We showed what he was looking at on his laptop when we had our experts go in and pull it. We showed you don't look at that kind of stuff when you're driving or on your business laptop, period. Right. You know, by 6 o'clock, we had the client $8 million, which was a good day. It was early in the case. We had taken about maybe 8 or 10 depositions. We'd have taken 40 had we not settled at that point. So you save on your costs, you save on your time, you get your client what they need. We settled a spine injury case with a quadriplegic. It's also an interstate case, I-85 case for about $7.5 million through mediation. Did that one in Atlanta. And it really helped him survive for a few more years. He ultimately died, but it made his life where he could live a pretty good life. Right. I mean, when you can't do anything but talk, you couldn't move his arms or his legs. He had to have a lot of special equipment put in the house. And then more recently, we settled one for about, I think it was $6.7 million, $6.75 million, something like that. It was another brain injury case. Did that in mediation in Montgomery. That one lasted a month.
Okay, let me cut you off just a little. Yeah. Now, I'm just thinking about confidentiality. You know, you see a lot of cases get settled, and they have a confidentiality clause. Right. Can you talk on that a little? Why
they do that?
Yeah,
companies don't want it out. That's why we recently settled one before we even filed the lawsuit. We notified them that we had the case. They said, do not file the lawsuit. We want to bring in our people from New York and from Seattle and get this case resolved. We went to Birmingham 3 weeks ago. We mediated it. We settled it. Okay. Confidentiality agreement. They don't want everybody skittish about their company, obviously. Now, on a lot of my big ones that you look on my website, www.waltonlaw.net, I have verdicts and settlements listed, and I've got details on a lot of them which I would not agree to confidentiality. As part of the deal, I said, you know, it's X million dollars with a confidentiality agreement, or it's X million dollars without. You got to pay more to get the confidentiality.
Right.
And then some of them we agreed to the language I'd put on my website to let people know what we do, and I told them it's important that we let our clients know what we're doing. So we need certain verbiage, and we would hammer that out at the mediation on what we could actually publish about the case. But yeah, we had one that took a month. What happened was the adjuster flew into town for the trucking company with only $3 million in a $8-9 million case.
Right.
So the mediator agreed to send her back to Dallas after we spent about 5 hours, and he saw we couldn't get over the $3 million hump. And we worked on the case during that time with the mediator, and he with the people in Dallas and the lawyers in Columbus and lawyers in Atlanta and lawyers in Montgomery. And by the end of the 30 days, we had gotten the settlement done over the telephones with the mediator still driving the case for, I think it was 6.7. It was 7, and then we gave them a break, let them get 250 of it. Okay. They only had 7.
Now, we've called out some 7s, some 9s, some 3s, some 6s, and all of them were millions. For the sake of somebody who's just seen you on for the first time, how much about have you reached in settlements for all your clients during your career?
Oh, total, I think it's up over 100 million now.
Okay.
Now, you know, those are big figures, and those are fun to talk about, but, I mean, we mediate cases every day that settle for $15,000, $20,000, $30,000.
Right.
We keep, usually every year I have a printout. The last one I looked at, I think it was 2 years ago, our smallest case that year was $1,000, and our largest case that year was $2.75 million. So unlike a lot of firms that just take big cases, we still take small cases. And a lot of those cases come from former clients whose family members are hurt or injured, and we feel obligated, since we've made a relationship with like a customer type, patient type, relationship, we take those cases.
Okay.
And a lot of firms don't. So, and that's one difference we have. We take them all.
But you would say that you've done all right for a little country boy from Lafayette.
Right. I guess I have to admit that now. I keep getting these awards that drive me crazy. I guess once you get a couple of them, they just keep coming. But it's nice. It's nice to get stuff like that to put on your website and set you apart, hopefully.